Does school feel like an uphill battle? Does it feel even steeper and more tumultuous with ADHD? Well, that can be the case. In this video, I'm going to share 4 tips, strategies to help improve your academic performance and help manage ADHD so that you can find your success in the classroom and start to make that uphill battle less steep and less tumultuous and more streamlined. I'm Dr. Murphy, David Murphy, Coach Murphy. I've been working with students and adults for over 20 years in supporting their neurodiverse needs and overcoming the academic challenges of being an effective middle school, high school, or college student. Tip number 1, this isn't rocket science, but so hard to do, but important in creating structured routines. Yes, I know I can do it, I just can't consistently do it. But if you can, find your consistent start time, find your consistent process for managing the flow of learning. Keep up. Give you a personal example or a client example. Jake, he was a student athlete in high school, bright as can be, and just struggled with keeping up with the homework. He was in honors classes, taking advanced placement courses, and would show up to school unprepared. It was demoralizing for him. He just struggled to keep up, didn't have a process. Through coaching, we worked on creating a foundation of basic routines and systems and processes to start his homework specifically at a certain time each day and really get into that anchoring mindset around when am I starting. Pretty much everything else took care of itself from that point on from Jake. But it was really game-changing for him. And that really matches what the research says, right? So when you think about Dr. Russell Barkley, a premier of ADHD research and books, since 2010, he's been just a prolific author. He recognizes that about 85% of students reportedly felt more in control and less stressed as they were passing in assignments on time and managing with the flow of learning. It really helped to minimize overwhelm, minimize stress, and minimize the chaos of being an effective student, and therefore help to support the symptoms of ADHD. A couple of strategies to take home from this. Number 1, use a planner. It can be a calendar, doesn't really matter, but you need something to anchor your attention on so you can get things done in a meaningful way, but you gotta know what you gotta do. And you can't leave it up in your head because your emotional dysregulation, your emotional decision week will take over and you'll just ignore it or you'll say, I'll do it later, and you know that doesn't go real well, right? And 2 is set specific times of when you're gonna get things done. That's hard to do if I just leave it in my head, right? So I gotta anchor that on a piece of paper. It can be just a notebook for all it matters, but you gotta make a process and you gotta have a consistent way of thinking about who I'm trying to be, what are my priorities, what's each class, writing down the assignments, and then reward yourself, check it off, right? The other thing is once a day, primarily in the morning, look at your schedule for the day. Look at what you have going on so you can really future plan and imagine. It's kind of episodic memories. Think about my future as it relates to each class. And then imagine myself being ready for those classes. How does it feel to walk into that class prepared? How does it feel getting ready for that class, that test? And how do I want to do in that test? Really start to think about your future in a meaningful way as it relates to that day. Tip number 2, without a planner, it's really hard to do tip number 2. If you're using some system or process to anchor your thinking and make logical decisions around who I'm trying to be, then it becomes easier for step number 2, which is really about breaking long-term assignments up. I gotta break things down into manageable parts. I can't leave it in my head that paper, do it on Friday, it's Thursday night, boom, I'm overwhelmed, in shutdown mode. Definitely gonna procrastinate, kick this can, and maybe think about getting it done with a weekend with an extension. Not a great feeling. If I have a planner-like process and I'm using it consistently, then it becomes really easy to tackle step number 2. This really allows you to break up writing assignments, how I can create an outline to start that process, write that down for the Monday, how that outline then turns into paragraph number 1, and then paragraph number 2 on Tuesday, and then maybe I can see myself getting that draft done by Thursday and submitting it on Friday for peer edits in class. That just feels great. But without a process, without tools to organize my thinking on that, it's super hard to do. And this really gets backed by the research that really supports how ADHD students and adults are over 50% more successful, more productive, even as adults, how they manage projects, how they manage timelines, how they manage due dates, if they have a process, if they have a tool that they can anchor their thinking on to see that's a Monday, what's due on Friday, and how do I break that down between now and then. Tip number 3, I love this tip. This is really about improving attention and focus in the classroom by really embracing and being accountable for ADHD-friendly study techniques, study strategies. I like to call them active learning strategies. Why? Because if I'm actively engaged in the learning process, then I'm more focused, I'm more engaged, I got more neurons firing, and I'm less likely to stare out the window at that squirrel. Active learning strategies means if it's time to think and learn, don't be passive about it. Don't just be staring at the teacher in the middle of class. Don't just be reading the textbook thinking that's enough. Don't just be watching the video and thinking that's enough. Be active in how I'm learning the material. If I am watching a video, take notes on the key points. If I am listening to a lecture, active note-taking is a powerful learning strategy, but it's also a powerful ADHD hack. So engage in active learning. Even if you're typing the notes with the teacher's lecturing because you can't read your own handwriting, that's fine, but I'm engaging in it. Even participating, raising your hand, actively engaging in the lecture allows there to be a higher level of meaning put to the content, and your ADHD symptoms go down because you're more focused and you feel more engaged with the learning, which obviously promotes a deeper sense of well-being in connection with the teacher. And when it comes time for real deep studying, it's extremely important to also incorporate some of these active learning strategies. When you're thinking about studying, make it active. I call it really self-testing. Try to replicate what the test will feel like, what it'll look like, and then create situations, create problems that you can answer. There's some great hacks on using artificial intelligence to do that. You can dump in the study guide and have it print off multiple choice test questions, print off fill in the blanks, and you can have it print off even open response questions to test your understanding and test your knowledge about all the things that are in the review guide. You can also have it make a review guide if you didn't have one. It's an amazing resource to promote and create opportunities for active learning. I love the aspect of AI and how it can improve our active learning strategies, ADHD friendly tools and hacks. Tip number 4. And this is a very important one as well. One of the greatest superpowers of ADHD is harnessing the ability to self-advocate. And if you can, you're unstoppable because you can really become your own champion of empowerment as you seek help. Use accommodations if you have a 504 plan. Use supports and resources if you have an IEP. And be able to use the already supports that are built into the school and let the teacher get to know you. Share who you are. Share your learning style. Share your strengths. Share your weaknesses. Share your tendencies. And then use the teacher's support to help improve your performance in the classroom, to improve your learning and improve your well-being. You feel better, right? You feel like your teacher's got you, and you'll work harder for them knowing that you got that relationship. But it starts with you. You have to build that bridge. I got so many stories, but let's think of Emily, for example. And she's a college girl that didn't really want to acknowledge her medical condition of ADHD, but she had the services in high school, and she needed to start to become an advocate of herself in college. And really, through coaching process, she learned how to create appointments in the academic resources office and get the paperwork submitted and make sure that she was creating that consistent time and attention in the resource center to get the help in the writing center, to get the help in the math tutorial center. If she needed access to notes as well. And that also was extremely important to her. She's taking advanced classes and going for the biology major. So she needed as much support as she could get in order to achieve that goal. So good for Emily for tackling that really important milestone in her self-empowerment and sense of agency as she took on college. If you feel like these are helpful, please let me know. There's so many more possibilities in terms of tips that can make academic life in high school and even academic life in college more meaningful. Which tip resonated with you? What was missing that really helped you to thrive in school? Leave it in the comments and let's start a discussion. I hope this helps. All the best. Thank you for watching.